Right, we're back at the big one in the city centre today because we've got Sam with us and we're just giving him a bit of a guided tour, showing him around, showing him the kind of stuff that we get up to in Worcester. Come on, let's have a look. When we bought the property, they were all being used for tenants.
Right.
So they were rented out for £50 each. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So 13 garages, right?
So 650 quid a month just for garages.
Yeah. However, the problem being was tenants used to rent the garage space, which came with the parking space in the front.
Right.
So they would park up here and here and here and here, and then eventually all of these people here, because those aren't my flats, would park behind them, block them in, and then they would be calling us at like literally 7 o'clock in the morning, so I need to go to work, I can't get my car out, and it used to cause so many problems. We'd have to refund the 50 quid, usually every month anyway, and they would move out. So what we decided to do was, we've got 3 garages that are privately rented for people that aren't tenants, and we've got one ourselves that we use for storage, and the rest of them are screwed shut.
Right.
So literally, don't do anything with them. Now we screwed them shut because the area is a little bit, obviously we're quite secluded here, and we don't want any naughtiness going on. We don't want anybody trying to break in, which has happened in the past. So we've got plans.
So look at
let's
these.
talk about them.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the plans on the inside. Now, that used to be a business and it was a tyre shop. And they used to do car tyres, obviously. And the traffic along here, if we'd come here on a Friday, normally, there would be cars all across the front here, all across our side here, all on the side there, and all that. We wouldn't be able to get in.
Right.
And they got moved. And the guy that owns the building has now turned that into 2 flats. So, yeah.
Nice.
Right, so come on through. Now, we're in the city centre. Grade 2 listed building, and just look at this garden. Look at the garden. Isn't it amazing?
Yeah, it's absolutely phenomenal.
But a lot of upkeep.
Yeah,
You
of
know?
course.
Again, you know, so you look at the side of the building now, you get a good aspect from where it is. So we've got literally from there and the corner where the elevation of the other building stands out, and all of this. So all of this is ours.
Wow.
I mean, you look at the chimneys, imagine all of those coal fires back in the day. Have a look, George. So we've got like, I don't know how many chimney breasts we've got. I mean, there's loads of them. But it's a grade 2 listed building. So the story behind this is, this was on the market for £1.3 million.
Yep.
And it was on, actually no it wasn't, let me go back a bit. I sourced it direct to vendor to begin with, and it was on at 1.3 million. And the guy that owned it literally said to me on the phone, I'm not gonna mess about, how deep are your pockets? And I said, what do you mean? He said, well, it's 1.3 million. I'm like, yeah, I'm out, right? This was about 10 years ago. And about a year later, it came onto the market and it was still on at 1.3. So I made a few inquiries in our community, had somebody that was potentially interested in going into business with me and funding it, all subject to X, Y, and Z. So I put a speculative offer in of 1.1 million, he accepted it. So we got it for 1.1 million. It took us about a year to get planning permission to turn it from what was 27 individual HMO rooms to 25 self-contained flats. So they're all, or most of them are self-contained flats. There's a couple of small HMO rooms left, but we needed planning permission for windows. I haven't changed all the windows yet, and to knock the interiors out and what have you. Right, only quickly, I'll run you through this side. Now we've got, this is 18 to 20, and we've got 17 in here, 17 flats in that block. Then we've got 16, 5 flats, and 4, so that they are all individual self-contained flats, all of them. And then we've got 14, and they are all individual self-contained flats in there. So we've got 5, 5, and 16, Right, I'll show you through. Now it is magnolia wood chip. So I know you've just you've seen a few of our nicer properties. This is a little bit different because of the...
Everybody's got some magnolia.
The age. It used to be an old school, so this is called College House.
Right.
And it was literally an old school up until about the 1950s when they turned it into flats. And we've got so many, down there, we've got about 12 or 13 coal bunkers from when it was with the old coal chute coming down. So we don't let tenants have access to that.
So is this the one you were saying earlier that's got everything's mains individually metered?
Yes.
So they can choose their own supplier.
The whole building.
Take full responsibility for their own bills. So
The
you
whole
have
building.
no bills liability apart from communal areas.
Nothing at all.
A little landlord supply for a few lights, a couple of rads.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Yeah, flats, another cellar, which is a huge cellar. It goes into 2, actually, goes into a cellar that side and that side.
Right. I think it's really interesting how you've got big grand communal spaces.
Yeah.
You don't get anything like this on new buildings.
No,
do you?
God, no. I mean, well, Players Avenue, the one we went to earlier,
Yeah.
I mean, the corridors are about that wide. You know,
Yeah.
they're tiny. It just keeps on going. It's like quirky, more flats over there. Yeah, so that's this side. So what, four stories with this cellar?
So let me ask you this then. This is obviously massive, and this is only, yeah, I know. It's like something out of an Escher painting.
Yeah.
Prior to this, what was the biggest HMO or block of flats you had?
Prior to this one?
Yeah,
well, we've had
before you did this one.
Prior to this, what was the biggest one we had? Probably, it's a rent-to-rent, and it's an ex-converted pub with 12.
Right, so how do you get your head around going from, and that was a rent-to-rent or an owned one?
Rent-to-rent.
How do you get your head around going from a 12-bed rent-to-rent to I'm going to buy a 27-bed HMO for over £1 million?
I loved it.
Like from a mindset
The
perspective.
challenge for me was great because so much learned on this project. So the planning permission, the listed building consent, working with the heritage officers, going into an old building and realising actually that you can't be perfect in an old building, and coming down from wanting to make everything the best standard in the world to having to have an acceptable line, because you can't, there's certain things that we can't do here, like, you know, this crest, we can't move that.
Yeah.
You know, we can paint it, but that's all. We can't move it, so we have to put up with it. These doors, we can't move them. We're not allowed to. They're listed part of the building,
Right.
so we have to keep them. And these kind of things are perhaps not as in keeping as we would have liked to have done at the time, but because it's an old building, it's acceptable.
Yeah.
And the fact that it's full of wood chip wallpaper, Sam, now can you imagine how much it would cost to take all of this off and replaster it and then paint it?
Yeah.
And we'd have to get planning permission to do that, because if we take the plaster off behind the wood chip, if it comes off, then we've got to get the right mix. We've got to get the same mix as the
lime
plaster.
and everything, yeah,
everything.
of course.
So how did I get my head around it? Yeah,
It just seems like it could be overwhelming in that situation. I
No,
mean,
I
there must have
loved
been some conversations.
This was the first big project, and I thought, you know what? We've got this now. We paid £1 million for it. We've made it.
Yeah.
Got our first £1 million property, and it was fully occupied when we bought it as well.
Right.
So that was another big. Well, what if they go bad? Well, to be fair, one did. One got arrested for armed robbery.
Right.
And that was it. After that, he went, and everything else was pretty good.
Yeah.
I learnt a lot with serving all of the notices and making sure the prescribed information and the tenant packs and the section 48 notices and 5s and 3s and all of that business.
Yeah. It just seems like a massive jump though. So I suppose really that's
It is.
I think a lot of people that kind of start to build a portfolio, either buying it or rent to rent, do 5, 6, 7 beds, maybe 8. That's kind of like a comfortable zone. And then to take a leap from that to, I mean, when we're in the garden, you can see the breadth and scope of the building. Yeah, that's a
the
huge
size of the
jump,
building
isn't it?
also comes with other issues, right? Because, you know, things like this happen all of the time.
Yep.
You know, and getting to find out actually where this is coming from. So we thought it was coming from the kitchen sink behind here, but it seems that it's still wet. I don't know whether it's been fixed or not. It doesn't feel like it has.
Yeah.
And then what we have to do, the most embarrassing thing is owning a building of this age. It's going to B&Q asking if they stock wood chip wallpaper.
In 2023, haven't they?
Yeah. Have you got wood chip? And they go, wood what? Wood chip. Oh, that stuff my nan used to have in her house. Because of course, once we've got to the bottom of this leak, all this wood chip's going to have to come off, and it's going to have to be replaced with wood chip.
Like for like, yeah.
Let's head back into the office. Yeah, big old chunk of concrete. It's just the upkeep, you know, the upkeep of these old buildings is it's just so hard. I mean, it's everything. Look, you know, we've got loose tiles here. It all needs pointing back up.
When you start to pull at the thread, where do you stop? That's like the question.
It's so
right?
hard. But you can see work, you know, remedial works we've had done here. We've had works done to the chimneys. We've had them repointed. We've had them reflashed. Every time we do it, we've got to put a planning application in. We've got to do a risk assessment. We've got to get insurance. You know, it's like it's a lot of work. A lot of work.